John was not a fan of some of Paul's later work with the Beatles. As the 1960s drew to an end, artistic differences within the Beatles began to take their toll. John Lennon and Paul McCartney were the primary creative force behind the band's monumental success, with the vast majority of songs written together and jointly credited as Lennon-McCartney. The two were able to draw the best out of each other as songwriters, with their contrasting approaches often meeting in the middle to create greatness. But as time went on, they seemingly wanted to do very different things, and had increasingly dissimilar views of what their songs should be like. So much so that, as The Echo has recently looked at, John treated much of Paul's later Beatles work with disdain. He disliked the album Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, which was Paul's brainchild, and he was very disparaging about the song, Let It Be. This was also a theme of the recording sessions for Abbey Road. Though the 1970 album Let It Be was the final to be released by the band, Abbey Road was the last album they recorded. The sessions took place in spring and summer 1969, and it was released that September, topping the charts in the UK and the USA. After the recording sessions for Let It Be were famously tempestuous, the band's work on Abbey Road was said to be more harmonious. However, there were still clashes between Paul and John. Additionally, John and Paul disagreed over the form of Abbey Road. Paul favored a more narrative approach as had been deployed on Sgt. Pepper. He won that argument, and the album's closing medley has become a beloved feature, which Paul uses to bring his live shows to an end to this day. As a result, John was not happy with the finished product. According to Stephen Stark's 2005 book A Cultural History of the Band That Shook Youth, Gender, and the World, John thought the album had no authenticity. He is quoted as saying that Paul's songs on the album were for the grannies to dig and not real songs. He also stuck the boot in on the album's closing medley, saying it was junk, just bits of songs thrown together. By the time the album had hit record store shelves, John had quit the band after asking for a divorce from the Beatles after the final Abbey Road recording sessions in summer 1969. Paul responded to that by retreating to his home to write and record his first solo album, McCartney. John's decision to leave the band was not made public until Paul announced he was leaving the Beatles and releasing his own work in April 1970, a month before Let It Be was released as the final Beatles album. Despite John's dislike of Abbey Road, it is thought of as one of the band's best albums, if not the best. Initial critical reception was mixed, but it has been retrospectively reevaluated. Mark Kemp of Paste said it was among the Beatles' finest works, and the Daily Telegraph's review of its 2009 remaster said it was their last love letter to the world, praising its big, modern sound for being lush, rich, smooth, epic, emotional and utterly gorgeous.